Then give it your best shot.
Hey there, marvelous Batman fans, welcome to the channel. The Batman Nightfall trilogy holds a very special place in the hearts of Batman fans. I remember doodling parts of the comic strips in my notebook, and given how iconic the story arc was, I'm sure all of you have some memories attached to it as well. Pinned by a team of writers, namely Chuck Dixon, Alan Grant, Joe Duffy, Dennis O'Neil, and Doug Moench, the three-part story ran from April 1993 to August 1994. And among all the pivotal moments it has, I guess giving us Bane was the most significant one. Now, Nightfall has inspired quite a few adaptations, including Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises, but it wasn't until late 2025 that we learned we were finally getting a full animated adaptation of the story. Yes, Warner Brothers announced at New York Comic Con that the project would bring one of the most iconic and beloved runs in the rich history of Batman comics to life. Now, we've got the first official trailer for this animated movie, and I'm going bonkers. So much happened in just over a minute of footage, and it really seems that Nightfall is finally getting the long-awaited and worthy place on the big screen. So, without any further delay, let's check out 10 insane details that we missed from the trailer, along with everything we know about DC's new animated venture. The 90s aesthetic is back. You know, when I first saw the poster for Batman Nightfall, I couldn't help but think about how 90s it looked. But yeah, I was skeptical about how it would turn out once those pictures were put in motion. And I'm so glad the animation we saw in the trailer successfully channeled that nostalgia. Sure, it's fresh, but it's also a huge visual departure from the recent Tomorrowverse style. And honestly, I'm kind of relieved, because we actually have the same team working behind it. The characters look like they jumped straight out of the comics, and to me, the movie seems to be heavily leaning into Kelly Jones' art style. I mean, think about it. The gothic horror silhouettes, the oversized Bane, the long flowing cape, and of course the pointed ears. It absolutely screams 90s. I wasn't really expecting Kelly Jones' influence, but now that I think about it, the early collected editions of Nightfall did feature covers by Kelly Jones, and DC couldn't have given us a better throwback. The film is animated by South Korean studio Mirko, which has plenty of experience, having previously worked on superhero projects like X-Men 97, My Adventures with Superman, Young Justice, Outsiders, and others. We're getting our favorite Robin. True to the comics, we're getting Tim Drake as Robin, and according to DCU World, Tim Drake is voiced by Jack Griffin, but Warner Brothers is yet to officially confirm the full cast. He appears in the familiar red suit with the black domino mask, and frankly, for many fans of the 90s, Tim Drake is the Robin. Unfortunately, he's been somewhat overshadowed over the years, but arguably Drake has been the best Robin. Tim Drake debuted in 1989, around the same time Batman hit theaters. And you know what was the best part about him? It's how he became Robin, and truly internalized the persona. Tim Drake was not recruited by Batman. Rather, he figured out the identities of both Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson on his own, convinced Dick to return, and then sought out Batman because he believed Batman needed a Robin after Jason Todd's death. Drake didn't become Robin overnight. Instead, he trained for it and earned it. Add his sharp detective mind to the mix, and of course, Tim Drake's Robin will always be my Robin. Seeing him in a major animated feature after Young Justice will be a huge moment for older fans. And thanks to screenwriter Jeremy Adams' reply to a fan asking whether Drake could be replaced by Damian Wayne, we can now be assured that the movie will be loyal to its source material and era. Adams replied on X, "No bro, it's old school Tim. He's so good in it." We spotted Nightwing. Dick Grayson's Nightwing made a highly anticipated brief appearance in the trailer, and we're losing our minds. Firstly, I want to say I absolutely love that suit, and it's a freaking good-looking Grayson. Yes, it doesn't look blue, but the stealthy armored bodysuit with a prominent V on the chest that extends down the arms? Yup, I'm in. And he also has the ponytail, which assures that the movie is set to wholeheartedly adapt the 90s comic style. We can also see Nightwing using his Eskrima sticks and charging against Jean-Paul Valley, aka Azrael, who dons a brutal and aggressive version of the Batsuit. The trailer thus did an amazing job at teasing how Nightwing and Azrael would clash when the latter still seems to be a part of the Order of St. Dumas, wearing a bold red and gold armor. It also hints that we'll see an unstable and volatile Valley when he steps in as Batman, whose methods would be too extreme for the rest of the Bat family. Arkham is already burning. The trailer begins with the fact that Bane had already blown up Arkham Asylum, which has set many of Batman's foes free, and we get some glimpses at Scarecrow, Joker, Riddler, and Firefly. Apart from them, we also got other enemies of Batman like Two-Face and Mr. Freeze wreaking havoc in Gotham City, right when Batman has been pushed to his physical and mental limits. It opens with Bruce saying Gotham needs Batman in a weary voice, when Robin reminds him that he hasn't slept in 2 days. That's exactly how it foreshadows Azrael's entry, who pops up soon enough in the trailer. trailer. We can see Scarecrow releasing fear toxins and just walking away with an evil smirk, while Batman's shadow crops up when Mr. Freeze appears in his suit. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Freeze's design is amazing. Riddler and Joker are busy doing their warped business, and Firefly 2 pops up before we finally see the main baddie, Bane, who looks humongous. The green venom flows through the tubes, and Bane calmly claims, "Let chaos reign in Gotham," after popping up from darkness inside what looks like the Wayne Manor. Why is Valley meditating? There's a very clear moment where we can see Valley meditating with his blue hue radiating around him. That suggests the first part of the trilogy will likely begin setting up his psychological conditioning, known as the System, which he uses intense meditation to suppress. This hints that we'll be getting a deep backstory for the character. He was trained by the Order of St. Dumas to become a lethal assassin, and if you connect that with the gold and red armor and gauntlets with flame-based weapons, it points toward his early identity as Azrael. It's because of this conditioning that he must constantly suppress his violent impulses to avoid fully giving in to the Azrael persona. Later, these same traits would also make him Batman's eventual substitute, and this is where the ninja-like fight sequence comes in, suggesting we may also be seeing elements of his earlier, more covert assassin activity being adapted for the film. Maybe the first movie will even end with Azrael's fall from control, setting the stage for Batman to reclaim the mantle in the next chapter. Given that the filmmakers have 3 movies to tell this story, they have enough creative freedom and time to explore each character's rise and fall in detail. As of now, the first Nightfall trailer seems to be focused on setting up a much larger narrative to come. Joker plotting against Batman. One of the most shocking moments in the trailer is Batman brutally beating someone with blood splattering in every direction. My best bet? It's the Joker, and it seems to be a direct nod to one of the most iconic moments from the original Nightfall comics. In the story, an emotionally and physically exhausted Batman is pushed over the edge after being exposed to Scarecrow's fear toxin. The hallucinations force Bruce to relive Jason Todd's horrific death, sending him into a blind, grief-stricken rage as he repeatedly screams Jason's name while mercilessly attacking the Joker. If that's indeed what the trailer is adapting, then the movie seems to be aiming for a remarkably faithful recreation of the comics. And what's even more interesting is a quick shot of the clown Prince of Crime acting like a movie director, while a cameraman records the chaos. As he says, "Well, that's a gritty new look for the Dark Knight. I wonder if he's actually filming what looks like Bruce Wayne in civilian clothes beating people up. If that's the case, it would be a clever twist on the original comic." Could the Bird Gang be inspired by Bane's lieutenant, Birdie Colosimo? Alright guys, this one is purely a theory, but I think the bird masked gang we see in the trailer, the 2 people in distinct bird-like face coverings, carrying a crowbar and knife, could actually be inspired by Bird. Now, we all know Bird, aka Birdie Colosimo, is one of Bane's most trusted lieutenants from the original Nightfall comics. However, he's not the leader of any gang, but rather one of Bane's closest enforcers. He gets his nickname because of his fascination with birds and the fact that he's even trained a falcon named Talon. But we never got any full bird masks. So why do I think there's a connection? Well, the trailer shows what looks like members of a group donning creepy masks, and it feels like the filmmakers took the idea of Bird and expanded it into a full-fledged faction. Of course, there's no official confirmation that these masked criminals are connected to Bird or even Bane. They could be related to other criminals using bird-themed disguises, but Birdie Colosimo comes first to mind given Bane is the main villain, and honestly, it'd be a pretty smart way to modernize this relatively obscure comic character. Batman will be seen in his Nightfall costume. The trailer ends with Batman's iconic Nightfall costume, and the entry couldn't have been more dramatic. In the original 1993 to 1994 Nightfall storyline, Bruce Wayne is defeated after his brutal encounter with Bane and cannot take up the mantle anymore. During this period, Gotham sees a far more militarized and actually weaponized interpretation of the Batman identity. This version of the Batsuit is a complete redesign of the classic look, shifting away from stealth-oriented design into something extremely aggressive and combat-suited. It is heavily armored, with reinforced plating across the torso and limbs, making Batman feel less like a shadow in the night, and more like a walking weapon of war. The suit also features upgraded gauntlets with claw-like extensions built for close combat, along with a modified cape system that can form a more rigid wing-like structure, and the moment you see the blue claws on the floor, you know this movie is gonna be fiery. We might be getting a blue Two-Face. I know my eyesight is horrible, but thanks to some fans on Reddit, I realized I was not the only one thinking the trailer hinted at the return of a bluish-green Two-Face. So, what's the deal with this? We know that Two-Face was once a Gotham City District Attorney, Harvey Dent, who turned into a criminal after half of his face got scarred in an acid attack. The incident left him with a split personality and an obsession with chance and duality. Now, the blue Two-Face in the trailer may be a stylized reinterpretation of the character, and may have drawn inspiration from 1990s comic book coloring and animated animated adaptations. Here, instead of a realistic flesh and scarred depiction, he used to be shown with a cool blue tone on his disfigured side. The design choice echoed how artists used exaggerated tones to emphasize mood and psychological contrast, and the Nightfall movie seems to be going in that direction, which, by the way, also resembles the aesthetic of Batman the Animated Series. The movie has roped in an amazing team for cast and crew. The movie's impressive cast and crew team already signals how seriously Batman Nightfall is being treated as a major DC animated event. Yes, the opening chapter in the planned trilogy adapts the landmark 1990 storyline, with the trailer teasing Anson Mount as Bruce Wayne Batman and Michael Mando as Bane. Anson Mount has previously voiced Batman in Injustice 2021 and will now be returning in the role with a more worn-down take on the character. Michael Mando's casting as Bane leans into his strength for intense, unpredictable performances, while Pablo Schreiber as John Paul Valley rounds out the cast that seems to explore different extremes of control and ideology within Gotham's collapse. Behind the scenes, director Jeff Wamster, known for the Crisis on Infinite Earths animated trilogy, will be leading the project, supported by DC animation veterans like Rick Morales, Jim Krieg, Kimberly S. Moreau, Sam Register, and Michael Uslan. This one's going to be big. We already know that it's going to be an R-rated trilogy, and the good news is that the first of the trilogy premiered at Annecy and got an overwhelmingly positive response. The audience praised the humor, action, and prominent role of Tim Drake's Robin, and I can't be happier. Executive VP of Warner Brothers Animation, Pete Girardi, added, "It's a story that we've held on to for many years because we really wanted to get it right. We needed the right team together." Alright guys, that's all for today. The animated trilogy is shaping up to be one of DC's most ambitious projects yet, and based on the trailer alone, it really feels like a 90s Batman comic brought to life. That said, adapting Nightfall is no easy task. One of my biggest concerns going into this trilogy was whether 3 movies would be enough to do justice to such a massive saga. The Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End storylines span dozens of issues, and that's before you even factor in essential prelude stories like Sword of Azrael and Vengeance of Bane. Thankfully, from everything we've seen so far, it looks like screenwriter Jeremy Adams understands the scale of the source material and is taking a thoughtful approach instead of trying to cram everything into one film. Fingers crossed. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!